Welcome back, everybody, to Civilization 5. Winter is Coming Modern, where we left off last time. The Tyrells and the Lannisters had both declared war simultaneously on Mance Rayder, and this is pretty much the battle for the game here. If Mance Rayder can't hold off the Lannisters and the Tyrells, then it's all going to be over for him. You can see the Tyrells moving up here through the ocean with a decent-sized fleet. And Mance Rayder holding off the Lannisters. Already lost Deepwood Moat and Winterfell, though, so it's going to be interesting to see how well he can do to hold the rest of them off. As you can tell by the turn number, we are getting close to the end of the series. I only wanted to go to turn 500. And if we hadn't had a decisive winner by turn 500, we'd said that we were going to crown the winner based on who holds King's Landing at the time. So we'll have to see if that still holds true as we get much closer to turn 500, which is probably going to be, probably not in this video, but almost certainly in the next video. We'll almost certainly have reached turn 500 by then. But to be honest, I feel like that would be a little bit of an anticlimax in the fact that Tywin's just held King's Landing for the entire series. So what I might end up doing is just if we get to turn 500 and there's still a war going on, we may just simulate 100 turns quickly and then show you the results afterwards until we get one clear decisive winner and see who that one is, because to be honest the action's been a little bit slow, especially recently. Lannister's still holding some land here. If the Dothraki wanted to declare war on Tywin, they could do a huge amount of damage. So could the Tyrells, but the Tyrells are focused up north against Mance Rayder with the Lannisters. And as you can see, the northern army is falling here. Arryn is taking damage. Although they have managed to battle back some of the Lannister forces. You can see how jam-packed this was with their armies earlier on. Although Thunder is now under attack. Wow, under heavy siege there. But like I said, if the Northern Army can break the Lannisters here, retake Winterfell and Deepwood Moat, and depending on what the Lannisters' production capacity is like, they may be able to sweep down and help themselves to a huge amount of land. But there's been a huge swing in power now. Mance Rayder's been in 4th position for most of the game, but he's only been about 100 to 200 points behind Olenna. And as you can see now, with losing Deepwood Moat, Winterfell, White Harbour, Sisterton and Newkeep, and Coldwater Burn, Mance Rayder has lost over 1,000 points in power, down to 2,300 now. So almost 1,000 points behind the Tyrells. Tywin is getting himself a huge amount of power now, actually opening up a big lead over Khal Drogo. Although this northern army here is still going to be able to do some work against the Lannisters. They're going to at least be able to make them pay for all of the territory that they take, hopefully anyway. Don't want this to be an absolute cakewalk for the Lannisters, because if the Lannisters can secure a large portion of the north, that is going to really cement their foothold. There'll really be nobody that can challenge them at the time at that point, unless the Horse Lords and the Tyrells declare war simultaneously. Arryn's still holding on fairly valiantly. This may be the line that the Lannisters cannot cross, but we will see. And the thing about Mance Rayder is he's normally quite good at holding territory, but he's not very good at pushing past once he's broken a line. And you can see the Tyrells are landing a huge army now down near Sisterton, and Mance Rayder's had to split up his forces to try and deal with that. If it had been just the Lannisters, he may have been able to hold them off, but as it is, with the Tyrells coming as well, he's had to split his main force. But he has been able to retake Deepwood Moat, which is a surprise move there. That really came out of nowhere. But with the amount of troops that the Lannisters have stationed around Deepwood Moat, I would expect the Lannisters to retake it immediately. But we will see. It is Tywin's turn right now. And his forces are getting very, very thinned out. Deepwood Moat still in the hands of the Northerners. But this secondary army over here is not dealing with the Tyrells as well as they could. Some Lannisters had broke through the centre here, but they're now getting split up by the northern counter-attack. But with these 4 Tyrell Knights here, they could make a push here for Svarit. And there we go. Deepwood Moat falls back to the Lannisters. And this is going to be a lot of give and take here. Deepwood Moat and Winterfell fell very quickly into Lannister hands. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get past... Oh! Now this is a development. Khal Drogo has declared war on Olenna Tyrell. And he has the ships and he has the forces. Wow, look at this fleet though. I'm surprised that the Drogo declared that war with all of these forces here. This could be interesting. Although she does have cities in Essos. So 3 towers. And Black Crown almost certainly going to fall. But it's going to be what happens on Red Lake will almost certainly fall. But it's going to be what happens over here. You know, in the end, the Host Lords may just decide to forget about Westeros and just secure their own land of Essos. And then just say, sod your war for the crown. Wow, look at the size of this Lannister army. This, you can see that this is almost certainly just going to overrun Mance Rayder. But this could have been the best thing to happen to Mance Rayder. Because if Olenna sees Drogo as the bigger threat, she's going to pull away possibly pull away a lot of these forces, which are either going to allow Mance Rayder to concentrate his force on Tywin Lannister, or it's going to allow him to retake these cities. Because just because he's 1,500 points behind in score doesn't mean that his army isn't at least comparable to the Lannisters. The Lannisters can probably raise a larger army because of the amount of cities that they have. But can they bring them all to bear at the same time? Retaking Deepwood Moat now. You can see the Tyrells aren't just shipping out this entire fleet. I thought they may have, but no. Looks like they aren't shipping them all out just yet, leaving some of them to defend White Harbour and Sisterton. And if Mance Rayder decides to counterattack, that could be a bad move on his part. He needs to focus his army on the Lannisters here. If he can break this army here, that's going to put Tywin Lannister in a very, very uncomfortable position. Although they have just lost Deepwood Moat and Arryn now, slowly but surely, in the war of attrition, wearing them down. Let's have a look what's happening over here now. Old Anchor under siege from the Tyrells. Red Lake under siege, probably about to fall, as is Black Crown. And then further up to the north, 3 towers also about to go. Now this will be interesting. I think what will be very, very telling in this war is if Khal Drogo kicks them out of Essos and then vies for peace. That will pretty much let us know Drogo's intentions. If he just kicks them out of Essos and then does nothing, that's going to let us know that really that's what he's concerned about. Possibly not mounting the world, but more like just mounting Essos, keeping his homeland secure. But if once he's secured Essos and he still wants to come across the sea, that could be huge. If he's able to land enough Blood Riders on the continent of Westeros, that could be devastating for the Tyrells and for the Lannisters afterwards. Because you have to bear in mind that they have a front line against Mance and a front line against Khal Drogo, but then when you look at the Heartland, there isn't really anything. It's all builders, caravans, and the odd unit stationed for defence or moving forward for the attack. There isn't really anything. Deepwood Moat falls back to the Northerners, and Arryn was a hair's breadth away from falling to Mance Rayder there. He has a smaller army than the Lannisters at the moment, but they seem more dug in and more determined. Better on the defence. Deepwood Moat doesn't fall this turn. So not quite passing it back every single turn, but almost. Mance Rayder is stretched very, very thin. They've lost Vigan now to the Tyrells. It looks like the army that Mance Rayder had sent over to deal with the Tyrells had to be pulled back to defend against the Lannisters. You can see their thin line bulging now under the weight of the Lannister advance. Aric falls back to the Northerners now, as does Deepwood Moat. They try and make a line with these mammoths here. You can see up in the north, 3 towers has fallen. How's Black Crown doing? Still in the hands of the Tyrells, as is Red Lake. Old Anchor. It's actually been taken from the Dothraki now. That now is in the hands of the Tyrells. Not for long though. I would imagine that Khal Drogo could very easily retake that. Elena has a large army here around Newkeep and Sisterton. It's probably trying to decide what would be best to do with that. Whether to send it up north to fight Mance and eliminate him, or maybe turn their attention to Khal Drogo. The Lannisters retake Deepwood Moat, but unable to retake Aric. The Tyrells consolidate their position around Vigan. And then Mance Rayder, can he retake Deepwood Moat? He can indeed, but he's not able to push back the Lannisters, and the Lannisters actually have driven a hole through Mance Rayder's line now, as you can see. If they can get some forces through there, split the northern army in half, they're going to be in serious trouble, because they only have crossbowmen over here to deal with. Neither city falls. They have pushed some forces through the centre though. The northern line is starting to be enveloped, and that's not going to be good. Over in the east, Black Crown, Red Lake, Old Anchor, all still in the hands of the Tyrells. The Northerners do their best to fight their way out of that envelopment. Not quite able to do it. They took out some of the forces that had pushed all the way through now, and this is a huge, huge war of attrition now. And one that you can see the Lannisters are still bringing up reinforcements. Reinforcements are pouring out of the Lannister heartland now. You can see all the way back down to the Paps and Harrenhal. Reinforcers are streaming to the front in the north. But they're not able to make any ground past Deepwood Moat or Aric. It's going to come to the point where Mance Rayder's forces are suddenly going to give. Old Anchor's been recaptured, and then the Lannisters are going to have free reign. Red Lake still defended, as is Black Crown, which is unusual because there are a lot of Blood Riders there. Did not expect them to hold out that long, but yeah, you can see as soon as the Northern Army gives way, the Lannisters are going to have free reign to do as they please in the north, and that's going to buy Tywin a huge amount of power. Deepwood Moat fallen again. I don't think Mance Rayder has enough to take it back. And what is this? The Dreadfort. No, Lorath has declared war on Drogo and Mance Rayder. That's just a city-state. We will not concern ourselves too much with that. There are northern reinforcements arriving as well, just not as many as the Lannisters. Lannisters caught Mance slightly off guard and were able to take 3 cities very, very quickly, which put them on a huge back foot. They're trying to reinforce and rebuild this line, but Aric's fallen as well. Although Mance has a lot of forces in the area, may be able to retake Aric immediately. We shall see. Khal Drogo still battling. See what Mance is able to do. He retakes Deepwood Moat and Aric. And almost reforms his line as well. There's still a little bit of a gap through the centre here. Khal Drogo still unable to take Red Lake, but that will fall next turn. Black Crown falls immediately in a single turn. And it'll be interesting, like I've said now, it'll be interesting next turn See what Khal Drogo does. Because there's just one city now belonging to the Tyrells on Essos. Once that falls, will he make peace? Or will he set sail? Up in the north, you can see, we can kind of see how this battle's going to go. The Northerners are doing their best to hold a line. But they just don't have the forces, especially not against the Tyrells as well. Look at this army landing by the Tyrells. This honestly could prove to be the Tyrells' biggest mistake. Because as you can see, if Khal Drogo can get through here past Cider Hall and Storm's End, they would have absolutely free reign through Tyrell lands. The only saving grace is that a lot of the lands are covered off by Tywin Lannister. There's only a small gap that would allow the Dothraki to come through. Red Lake's still in the hands of the Tyrells. That is a surprise. Well, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise considering how well the Wildlings are holding their line in the north. There's a lot of forces up here. Are they thinking about taking Hroloff back? You're going to have to pardon my terrible pronunciation of a lot of these names. They're doing a good job of defending Arryn. Only able to attack from one direction. Deepwood Moat, though, taking a lot of damage. A lot of the forces defending that have been pushed back and wiped out now. And this is starting to look like the beginning of the end for Mance Rayder. He hasn't really gained any power. In fact, he's lost power consistently for the last 10 turns. He's got most of his forces concentrated around Arryn, probably trying to reform a second line. So once Deepwood Moat falls, these forces are going to wrap around, and this is going to be the new line here. But to be honest, with the amount of forces that the Lannisters have here, they could just completely surround them at Arryn and take Svarit and Harrond and Last Hearth all very, very quickly. The Tyrells trying to pick up what they can. It's getting left over, and like I said, the fact that Mance has to battle them both is what has absolutely wrecked his game here. If he was just fighting the Lannisters, he may have had the forces to hold them off. Red Lake still in the hands of the Tyrells. And where is this Dothraki army now? These guys are still sort of lingering in the south. Forces up north have dispersed. Looks like the Dothraki are trying to take Braavos, but that'll be a difficult battle considering how well defended it is. Looks like the Dothraki are falling back from Red Lake. That is... Nope, there we go. Taking Red Lake. That was quick. We should not underestimate the Dothraki. In the north, Arryn still in the hands of the Northerners, thanks to the fact that they've stationed so many units around it that the Lannisters can't reliably attack. But Deepwood Moat... it's now been in the hands of the Lannisters for 2 turns. Although Hrolf is under siege from the Northerners. And there we go. Red Lake falls back to the Reach. The Dothraki move in. They aren't happy about that. Oh, look at the size of this army from the Tyrells. Why hasn't that made landfall somewhere? And here we go. Now getting closed around by the Lannisters. And it'll be interesting to see if this will be a war for extinction, or whether the Lannisters will do their usual trick being beating someone half to death and taking a large portion of their lands in peace. You can see Mance Rayder is very concerned with retaking Deepwood Moat. Thunder has fallen as well. I think he's maybe placing too much strategic weight on that. Splitting his forces a little bit to try and retake Deepwood Moat, which may allow Tywin to get some serious damage on those units. But Arrak still will not fall. This army's still not making landfall. Red Lake still in the hands of the Tyrells. Although it is Khal Drogo's turn, still in the hands of the Tyrells. And the Dothraki Blood Riders look like they're now returning to their homes, or some of them making the march to the west. And on that bombshell, we are going to have to call this video a day. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and join me in the next one when we see how this war plays out.